it feels almost like a religious experience. It became apparent last year to me that actually having that like structured schedule and structured time away from playing was what had kind of helped me become a good player. I almost missed Magnolia Lane when I was driving in first time, because it does, like anyone who's been, it sort of completely sneaks up on you. Yeah, I think if you ask any golfer, honestly, like you have to play in those events if you can. That's what we all grew up playing. And no, I think the last time I was fit for shoes before that would have been my Clark's school shoes or something. It would have been like...
Earlier this year, LAURIE CANTER got down to a career low 42nd in the World Golf Rankings following an unbelievable start to the 2025 DP World Tour season, winning in Bahrain and securing multiple top 3 finishes. But it hasn't always been smooth sailing for CANTER. I recently sat down with the Englishman to discuss what it was like joining and playing on the LIV Golf Tour in 2022, as well as his experiences playing the Masters and the Players for the first time, and what some of his career goals and aspirations are.
All right, thanks for letting me speak to you today, for being part of the day. You obviously had an unbelievable start to 2025, getting inside the world's top 50, playing your first Players, first Masters. Sat as a reserve on the LIV Tour 2 years ago, would you believe that you would then be in this position you are now?
I've not really ever thought about it like that. I think at the time, you're obviously just dealing with with where you are in life, I guess. And at that point, I'd lost my category on the European Tour, the DP World Tour, which for basically had been all I was trying to do in the early part of my career, was trying to establish myself out there. And that had kind of gone away from me because I went and played on LIV and didn't play well enough in Europe in the events I played to kind of keep it. And then obviously hadn't established myself on LIV either, so I was in this kind of no man's land, if you like. But I mean, at that point, I actually felt like my golf was in a good spot. It's interesting kind of position, because the events I was playing, I was kind of playing nicely, competing. So yeah, I mean, to kind of directly answer your question, if someone had said 2 years later you'll be playing in the Masters as a result of a world ranking, I would have found that hard to believe. But I guess I've always felt like it's possible with like the game and the belief I had in myself.
Obviously, you made the decision to move to LIV in 2022. What were your kind of motivations behind the decision at the time? Where was your golf at, and was that the reason ultimately why you chose to make that move?
Yeah, I mean, that's like a quite a two-part question, I guess, because my motivations to move to LIV was the opportunity in terms of the money that we were playing for. To an extent, some of the other players that were playing the field, it got better and better, but that was attractive. Like being able to play for $25 million for that first year was just such a big financial opportunity for someone like me. Had a young family, all those sort of things. So it was just, that was my main consideration. Being honest, it was. What was the second part of the question?
Just was your golf at the time?
Yeah, sorry, the golf. So at the time, I'd just got myself into the top 100 in the world and was beginning to access these bigger events. Like I'd just played the PGA Championship, but I'd played a couple of the big desert swings, was kind of looking to push into the Open and to the US Open and hopefully the Masters. So that worked against me. I think, I didn't know where the world ranking kind of deal would go. And ultimately it definitely didn't create that access that I was after. And yeah, I think if you ask any golfer, honestly, like you have to play in those events if you can. That's what we all grew up playing. And so in that respect, not having the ability and the pathway to kind of progress my career in that respect was difficult to deal with. Obviously, I think you look at the events LIV did and the bottom line and what you could make, and that would have been the motivation, the reason at that point in time for me. But I think, yeah, I guess you've got to try and find that balance as a player, and I think giving yourself chance to play in the biggest events with the best players is what we're really all after doing.
As a reserve on LIV, because I think there's a lot of people struggling to kind of understand what that means.
Yeah.
What does that look like if you're not kind of cemented on a team and you're a reserve? What does that look like week to week? Or
it was you would travel to the event much in the way you would any tour event. You'll always get a first or a second reserve on site. It's just if someone gets injured or if there's someone might have something away from the golf course, which means like, you know, a family issue or something, so they're not able to play. So as a reserve, you're effectively staying ready to play, but with no kind of fixed kind of opportunity, if you like. I was lucky in the year that I was a reserve because there was Martin Keimer was a captain, had a big operation in the winter. So I knew he wasn't playing for the first 4, and he'd said, I'd like you to play in my place. And then on the 5th event back, a player in the Majestics team, Sam Horsfield, had an injury that took him out for pretty much the rest of the year. So I was really lucky that the 2 teams, you know, it was unlucky for them, but lucky for me, the 2 teams were European guys, knew me, and wanted me to play on their teams. So I was kind of very, very lucky and grateful I got that opportunity, because to your point, without having that kind of grounding of golf and getting to play the LIV events that I got that year, I wouldn't have had much golf to play, to be honest.
what was that like from an affiliation to a team standpoint? Because obviously, theoretically, you did stay in Keimer's team for the 4 weeks, but did you feel like did you have an affiliation to a team? Obviously, some of the guys were more European based.
Yeah, I mean, I'd played for his team the year before, so I can't, and I liked them. I really like Martin. He's a good guy, and I like the Majestics guys who were the captains were, sort of my heroes growing up. So kind of playing on their teams was great. Like, I absolutely loved it. So it wasn't difficult for me to try and want to go out and play well. And I kind of had personal motivation that obviously if I could play well enough, you can get yourself into their, kind of within their system and try and establish, yourself in that top 24 that retains playing rights on LIV.
So in terms of the process of leaving the tour, did you have to serve at bans? I know obviously the PJ Tour were pretty hot on banning guys if they wanted to come back or just leaving the tour in the first place. Did you have to pay any fines for either of those?
Yeah, so the 2022, the season that I played LIV and I remained a member of the European Tour, I paid fines and served suspensions for the events that I played opposite a LIV event. So I think it amounted to about a 7 or an 8 week kind of suspension from playing events, and then get a pretty sizable fine. Yeah.
And then moving away from LIV, returning back to the DP World Tour, what prompted the return in the first place?
I think I went to the LIV qualifying event at the end of 2023, and I narrowly missed out at the qualifying event. And like I said kind of before, I felt like that year I was actually playing some pretty good golf. I was beginning to feel like I was swinging the club well. And so I then had an opportunity through a lower category on the European Tour to play a couple of events in Australia and Mauritius at the end of the year. And I think I finished 4th in Australia and 2nd in Mauritius. And that really kind of changed the structure of my year. I was able to then have a category again on the DP World Tour. And it became kind of apparent to me as a player how much I'd missed that, like how much I'd missed a schedule and being able to plan. Because people might look and say, well, you play 22 or 23 weeks a year, but actually a lot of what we try and do if you're trying to improve as a player is what am I doing in my off weeks? Can I work a bit on my body, or can I work a bit on an aspect of my game? And you need time away from tour to do that, and it needs to be structured. And being a LIV reserve, in 2023, and the kind of, I'm going to just say, disruption to the whole schedule in 2022 of kind of starting to play on LIV and trying to fit in the DP World Tour, it became apparent last year to me that actually having that structured schedule and structured time away from playing was what had kind of helped me become a good player. So I kind of leaned into that, and I thought that's obviously something that's really important to me as a player. So once that kind of category opened up and I got a win in May on the DP World Tour, it's been like great for me because I've been able to say, right, I'm playing X, Y, and Z, and I can chase that many Order of Merit, or I can chase the USPGA spot or whatever it was to try and open up doors and play the best events I could.
I was going to say, is that what's allowed you, your game to flourish this year so far? Just feeling comfortable and understanding a bit more about how you're going to kind of space out your season?
Yeah, I think I've been lucky. I've had some like really good experiences. I like my sort of off the golf course. We've had quite a lot going on. My wife gave birth again at the end of last year, and so we've been like there's a lot of stuff going on kind of away from golf. But the golf, I was able to play like the Team Cup in January. I was selected for that. That was like an amazing week for me as a player to see some of the guys, how they operate, kind of get a small taste for what the Ryder Cup would look like and that kind of stuff. And I think that's really, really exciting to have kind of been exposed to that. And then, I think that with a solid schedule and getting some of the events we played early in the season in the Middle East, they were great for my golf, and being able to compete with some world-class players in those fields. And it just does a lot for your kind of belief system, and equally, holds up a mirror to things you've got to keep improving and working hard at.
Obviously, it marked your debut at the Players. What were your kind of initial impressions of the event as a whole? And had you been to TPC Sawgrass, and what did you think of, the whole facility that they've got there?
It completely blew my mind, the like level of infrastructure that they have there. Like, it's incredible. I think the fan experience would be amazing at Sawgrass. The whole kind of amphitheatre style, 16, 17. Yeah, me and my caddy went, and I think we played it on the Sunday or the Monday just on our own, and it was amazing. We were both kind of laughing at how good the setup was. I'd never been there, just watched it on the telly, but I kind of love the layout and love the golf course. Yeah, I think anytime you get to go and play events like of that kind of stature, you're going to you've got to try and take it in a little bit, because they're different, they're pretty special.
Are there any particular moments that week that stood out that you'll kind of look back in memory and be like, wow, that was incredible?
I think the first time you play 17 in competition is pretty amazing. On the Friday, I kind of played it early afternoon by the time I got there, and it was packed out, and they had a kind of bit of a juicy front pin. So it was, you kind of had to take the shot on, because it was, in terms of that green, that's about as easy as you ever get it. You put it in the back slope and try and rip it back towards the hole. So I think that was a sort of pinch myself moment. Just at that point I was working hard to try and play the weekend, but it was like a great thing to go and experience and play, for sure.
And similarly, it was your first time competing at the Masters. You got to go to Augusta National, which every golfer literally dreams on. What was that experience like for you? Obviously, going down Magnolia Lane for the first time and actually getting to get out on the course.
I almost missed Magnolia Lane when I was driving in first time, because it does, like, anyone who's been, it sort of completely sneaks up on you. So like, I think we did like a drive-by where we actually missed the turning. But I mean, it's kind of everything you expect, and then loads more. What struck me about Augusta was how it feels like its own sort of city. Like, within it, it's like vast clubhouse, and you kind of go out the back and it feels a little bit kind of innocuous, and then you stand at the top of the hill and see all the golf and see all the holes, and then the more you play it, it unfolds. There's lots of things you kind of, it would strike you. You hit your tee shot on 11 and walk to the top of the hill, and you take the view in of, like, you can see 12, you can see the shot to 11, you could see the guys teeing off on 13, and it feels almost like a religious experience. Like, it's probably as close as I've ever felt to like playing something like St Andrews. It's like, because you've seen it all, and then you're kind of there and playing it and living it. I kind of see the mystique, and I would say everything I expected, it kind of blew it out the water. With everything they do there is like truly on a different level.
Can you kind of share any key takeaways that you took from playing on the golf course? What makes it so special and what makes it so challenging at the same time for people, who are going there for the first time?
Well, how they prepare the course is different to how anything I've ever seen. So I don't know if they do this every year. I think they do. Every shot you hit, they've cut the grass into you. So that basically means the tee shot, there'll be quite a significant difference between if you're pitching down grain or into grain in terms of the amount of run. And then you've also got, because of the way they've cut the grass into you, it makes like the striking of shots, especially chipping and pitching around the greens, you've got to be more accurate. It's more penal. So and I've never played a golf course where the whole golf course is prepared like that. It's like they've taken a difficult game and then they've tried to make it as challenging as they possibly could. So that was kind of one thing that I would definitely have to look at going forward, from whether that's an equipment point of view or just even a preparation, like when you're going in, making sure that you're practicing shots into the grain a lot. Just getting to know the place as well. There's no sort of tee times or it's very much, they know exactly where you are on site at all points. It feels like they've got a large team of people kind of keeping an eye on everyone. So just, I guess, feeling comfortable and kind of in that environment, I think it would probably be a helpful place to go 2 or 3 times, which is probably what we've seen over the years with results and stuff.
Was there anything in particular that, fingers crossed, you want by next year, you would do differently, or you would approach it differently to next year?
I'd probably spend. I spent quite a lot of time on this because I was told it, but I don't think you could really spend enough time practicing your distance control in your short and your mid irons. You have a lot of shots where you've got to be pinpoint accurate, and then with that, practicing it's very undulating golf course. You don't get many flat lies. So a lot of people have told me you'll be surprised at how undulating the golf course is, but it's unless you've been as a fan or you've kind of gone and played it, that's something you need to kind of get a grasp for. And then anytime you're playing uneven lies to greens that are as penal as that, it's just getting as much your caddy and you as well, getting comfortable with where the wind is, how that shot will play relative to a flat lie on a more exposed golf course. There's a lot of tree cover, so picking the wind's difficult. And then you're adding in lies and trying to manage your shot pattern to how the golf course is playing is definitely one of the more challenging things that I think I saw there.
So looking forward, what are your goals and aspirations for the remainder of this season?
I'd love to play on the PGA Tour. So I think giving myself the best chance to do that, whether that's, I'm going to hopefully play at least a couple more majors this year. Hopefully I'll get all of them. It would be great to have a run in that secure myself or get myself more opportunities on the PGA Tour. Failing that, one of the top 10 cards would be great. I definitely would like to do that next year. I think the opportunity to play out there is brilliant with kind of how golf's evolved, certainly through the kind of middle section of the year as we see it. I think the PGA Tour has most of the strong fields. I think the DP World Tour, the early season events and from sort of September onwards are amazing. I'd love to keep playing those, but I think having the chance to go and play on the PGA Tour would be kind of my kind of number one outcome goal, if you like. I've got to give myself a good chance with my starts to get one of those cards and do that. Outside of that, I think it'll just be continuing to do some of the stuff I'm doing off the course. And yeah, I'd like wherever I'm playing, I want opportunities to win tournaments. That's really what I want to do. I want to get to my career and feel like I've had I've won. It took me a long time to win. I had a lot of seconds, messed up a lot of tournaments I feel like I could and should have won. So that would be the thing, is it's almost like in my own headspace, when I have opportunities to win, I want to be, I really want to be like a clinical and try and get a number of wins and feel like I can kind of establish myself as a winner on the tour.
And do you see the Ryder Cup, is that in your sights this year?
Well, since I started getting asked about the Ryder Cup, I haven't played very well, so I'd say that what you're putting on. No, I think the The Ryder Cup's interesting because it's going to be in America. So my gut feel is they're going to want guys to have shown form in America or in American majors. So that makes my next two opportunities out there important. I know I got the game where I can go and play well in America. I feel like that is an opportunity that I have. So as kind of cliche as it sounds, for me, just trying to get myself prepared and ready to play those. And then I think if that happens and I have an opportunity to compete in one, then that gets you the points and that gets your name, in front of Luke Donald. And then it's a decision he's got to make. He's got 6 picks. So, to get a qualifying spot, I've got to really get my head down and play great through the rest of the summer.
How do you see the landscape of professional golf evolving? With obviously there's been so much talk about the merger and it's either on and it's off, and obviously you kind of played over in LIV, and now you're looking to try and play, like you said, both tours. How do you see it when coming together?
I don't know. It's hard. It's pretty hard because I think there's been quite a lot of back and forth, and there's a lot's happened, and I think the tours have changed and evolved to try and respond. So at the moment, it doesn't feel like there's although I would love to see something kind of done. I think it would benefit, a lot of people. I think currently I find it difficult to see how it would come back together quickly. There's lots of different ideas have been put forward about how the two sides could kind of coexist. And I think ultimately I'm probably in the camp where I think it all could be additive to golf. It's just how to kind of give each respective tour or place to play its kind of moment in the sun at various points through the year. And I guess that's, we're also adding in the TGL league now, which I actually think's been really good. I'm someone who thinks TGL stuff's kind of good. I've watched a few and kind of found it interesting, and it's nice that some different stuff is coming into golf and people are being open to it. And some of the top players are playing it, which I think's been great. So I guess as a golfer, that's what I'd want to see. Different stuff tried, get it in front of different people as much as possible, because that is one of the ways the game will grow. And I think, the different tours around the world, they do that. So perhaps it's just making sure that they can all have their little windows to operate. And then the governing bodies and the tours are pulling in the same direction to try and make that happen.
And then lastly, about shoes themselves.
Yep.
Go on to a bit more about the shoes. You said that you played in loads of different varieties of shoes, spike shoes, spikeless.
Yeah.
Seeing the SLX now. Had you ever been fitted for shoes like this before and seeing this kind of level of tech and how FootJoy go into the fitting of their shoes?
No, I think the last time I was fit for shoes before that would have been my Clark's school shoes or something. It would have been like... So, to be honest with you, I think how shoes evolve, people get older and they're told, I'll get a bigger shoe, I'll get a bigger shoe, I'll get a bigger shoe. But eventually our feet kind of stop growing or your feet change and move. And what it made me realize being fit was how important that whole process was, and how much I'd taken it for granted. Because my feet had changed. The FootJoy kind of whole Acushnet team, with what they do with kind of their whole brand and fitting system, is they want accuracy and they want data on it and they want loads of feedback from players. So to see the volumental system work and show me my feet and show me how I stand and show me arches and what will help, then backing what did it feel like, and then kind of seeing how it performed for me. And obviously it made an obvious performance difference, which if you'd told me that before, I'd have probably struggled to believe that that a shoe could actually change dynamics and help me play golf, or help me do the things I'm looking to do a bit more on the swing. So I'd be a huge advocate for people for anyone to go and have a look and to do it, because I'd be surprised if it didn't make it a decent difference to kind of all golfers. I ended up in the SLX here, the Pro SLX. For me, it's the stability aspect. It's got the racetrack design around the outside, which I feel like keeps me very centered, enables the stuff up the chain, my knees, my hips, my body to work better, because my feet are basically more in the ground, versus the the shoe I was wearing before that was it was too big for me, and I would find like my feet within it are slipping and sliding. So it to have like a correctly fitting shoe, and then the design is able to kind of help me out with the aspects of my swing that I'm looking to improve. It's like a kind of good match.
So obviously you talked about a correct fitting shoe enhancing performance.
Yep.
So you do some testing with a larger size shoe at 14, which I can't remember, was it 3 sizes bigger?
Yeah, 3.5, I think.
3.5 sizes bigger. How did you feel when you were using that, and what did you see differently from the data?
So my foot moved more, slid more, which makes it harder for me to get into my right hip in my backswing, and makes it harder in my downswing for my left foot to kind of hold the ground, stabilize, so that I can kind of power off it. That's been kind of the key theme for me is you want your feet to be able to like move and work for you, but if you create too much movement and instability, the stuff up the chain in your body can't work how you want it to work. So going into a size 14 shoe I basically felt like I was playing on skates, and yeah, you feel like some compensatory patterns happen and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's eye-opening. Again, something that I guess people could do as long as they could do it safely. I think moving around when you're trying to play golf, the game's hard enough without your feet moving. So, but it's a very eye-opening thing when you wear a shoe that kind of is working against you.